This is the Universal Research Video Action Home System called VA2. If you're wondering what happened to the VA1, well, it's not a home console, but since you asked, I'll give you a little background. Universal Research Labs, or URL, joined the video game market in 1973 when they were contracted by a company called Allied Leisure to make circuit boards for a Pong clone arcade called Paddle Battle. During this time, they also made their own arcade game called Video Action, or VA1. The arcade was built in an octagon-shaped table and included 3 games: tennis, soccer, and hockey, which were all Pong variants, but they allowed up to 4 players. You would think it would allow 8 players because of the 8 sides, but I guess they just wanted to challenge you by giving you as little space as possible when handling the controls. Because of the success with the Paddle Battle and another Allied Leisure arcade URL was working on called Tennis Tourney, URL had a lot of parts on hand to meet demand. Then suddenly, in January of 1974, the Allied Leisure manufacturing plant suffered from a fire that destroyed most of their stock and temporarily halted production. Instead of waiting around for production to continue, URL decided to put their extra stock to use and get into the consumer market, which is where the VA2 comes in. URL had 2 versions of the console. There was the regular VA2, which was the consumer model, and the VA2C that was coin operated and was meant for bars and waiting rooms. The system had 4 tiny knobs, one for each player, on top of a white surface that were so close together, there was no way you could fit 4 people next to each other without some very careful and strategic planning. They did have all that extra space in the back though. Instead of spreading the knobs out a little more, they wanted to save that space to put your TV on top of the system, since there's definitely no room anywhere else in the house where the TV would fit. Then underneath on the face of the system was the control panel where you could choose which game to play, change the ball speed, turn the game off and on, and adjust the volume. Early versions of the console were sold with a Broadmoor branded TV and costed $500! What's that, little Jimmy? You want a video action system for Christmas? No problem, let me just take out a second mortgage on the house. Part of the deal with Broadmoor allowed them to sell their own version of the console that they called Foreplay. I'm sure there was no subliminal messaging there. What was their ad campaign? There's like a woman talking to the camera just wearing a robe. She's like, "After my husband brought foreplay into the bedroom, I find it hard just leaving the bed in the morning." In January of 1975, URL announced the VA2 was now available to buy without the TV for $299, which was still $200 more than the Magnavox Odyssey. The only selling point the VA2 had was that it was the only competition to the Odyssey, until shortly after when plenty more Pong clones hit the market. URL was among one of the many companies that was getting sued by Magnavox, but they never had any legal action due to filing bankruptcy in 1977. Unfortunately, I was unable to find any type of emulation, simulation, or even a physical version of this system, and I couldn't find any video footage of the games anywhere, so there will be no gameplay video for this system. But I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week when we take a look at Executive Games Television Tennis.